Let's jump right in. How did you get into coaching? Like, what life circumstances led you here? Because most coaches got into the business because they didn't have one or they needed one
Exactly.
and didn't want others to experience maybe some of the mistakes they made.
Yeah, well, that's a version of my story. I can tell you I was a bit of an extreme kid. And so at 12, I was just fanatical about bicycles. And so there was one small bike shop in my town. It was called Marty Schwinn Cyclery. And I lived in a small town in Iowa. And it was full on, Hallmark Christmas kind of movie town with a courthouse and a square and all that. And Marty's was 2 blocks off the square. We were next to the only Goodwill in town and the only strip club in town. So for a 12-year-old, this was the promised land, man. And I went up there and I spent every day of my 12th summer just trying to do stuff so that Marty wouldn't have me arrested for loitering. And, I swept out the alley. I painted trash cans. I mowed his lawn without his permission, all that. And by the end of that summer, he basically decided, well, we're not getting rid of you, so I guess we should hire you. And so I had my first dream job when I was 13, and I worked at that bike shop through college, all of that, and learned so much. And I started because I was passionate about bikes, but I always say big dreams have back doors, and getting that dream job made me realize I was interested in bikes, but I became passionate about entrepreneurship. And so I learned entrepreneurship. I learned how to sell. I went to my first sales training when I was 14, all of that, and just fell in love with that and sold. I sold my first selling seminar when I was 20. And I just loved that. But then I got into the corporate space. I knew that, maybe that would be my dream someday. That bug kind of bit me, but I thought, you know what, I need to amass some more experience. So I got into business to business sales at first, and then I got into pharmaceutical sales. Really it was an exciting time to be in pharma. It was a high science sell. It was highly relational. I really enjoyed it. I managed a territory that was the northern half of the Louisiana Purchase. So I had Montana, half of Wyoming, and a chunk of Idaho. So I was in God's country, and my wife and I loved the mountains. So it was perfect. And that I really gelled with that, so much so that I kind of rocketed through kind of the leadership ladder and wound up helping to manage a $2 billion pharmaceutical company's training department. So I really had a career I was loving. And then I got promoted into a bad fit job. And, Josh, I know you've had some good fits and some bad fits, all of that. So you know what that's like. But I got promoted into this bad fit job at a time where we were also living a sitcom life, which was single income, 2 children, oppressive mortgage. My wife was staying home with our 2 boys at that time. So I couldn't just quit. And I was locked in, and my soul started to die. And I can remember I got home one night, and I really credit it being in the coaching world to my wife, because I got home after a really hard day. She knew it was a hard day. And I got home, and there was this business magazine, it was Business Week, laying open. And she goes, "Hey, I want you to see that article." And I look at this magazine, and it's on an entrepreneur. I can't even remember the name of the entrepreneur at the time. He was wildly successful. And I start reading an industry I have no interest in. The guy's story is kind of compelling to me. And she's like, "No, not the main story. Look at that sidebar article." And the sidebar article was all about this famous, successful entrepreneur's coach. I'm like, "What's that? What is that?" And she's like, "That's what you do. That's what you do with people." And that has always been an element of what I do. I, ask questions, listen, I create a safe space for people to dream big, all that. She's like, "That's what you do. We should find out, how do you do that?" And so I started to investigate, how does somebody become a coach? I didn't even know. And I signed up for one of the big name, training programs. It was very expensive. You know how all that stuff works. And it was great from the standpoint of taught me how to coach. But like most programs out there, it taught me nothing about the business of actually building a coaching business. And so I floundered. But I prayed and I promised and I said, God, if you help me do this, I'll turn around and teach other people how to do it, like especially the business side. Because I said I could see this tremendous need. There was encouragers needed in the world, like true people that help people to be at their best. I said, but boy, there's not a lot of people who seem to know how to do it from a business standpoint. So he downloaded some strategies to me, and I thought it was going to be 5 years. It wound up being about 5 months. And through his blessing and a lot of guidance and some breakthroughs, we were able to launch a full-time coaching and speaking business in about 5 months. I was able to leave that bad fit job and launch a company, and been doing it ever since. That was 2002. And about 2006, coaches started to find me, speakers started to find me saying, hey, what you're doing is working. What are you doing? And I remembered that prayer. And so I started to do it. And initially, you'll appreciate this, Josh. Initially, I started to do it for free because I kind of thought that's what, if I promised God, maybe I should do it for free. But I noticed whenever I did it for free, people didn't value it.
They didn't appreciate it. Yep.
Nope. But when I started to charge, people really valued it. They knew they were all in. And so I have continued to this day to manage and grow my own coaching business. I coach entrepreneurs and leaders, CEOs, founders. But then actually more than half of our business now is also coaching other coaches and speakers. And we really focus in on what we call the authority bridge, which is helping leaders and entrepreneurs, high achievers, to actually build a side business with coaching and speaking and that kind of thing. So that's a long-winded story of how I got here.
Well, going back, like you with 2 businesses in the middle of town, you chose the right one. You could have gone work for the strip club. So I tried to work.
You know what? I thought of it. I'll tell you one of the funniest things. Marty, the owner of the bike shop, I'd never been to a strip club. I can say to this day, I still haven't been to a strip club, but the owner of the bike shop, he held me as capable. And he stretched me. And I'll never forget, I'd gone to this selling school. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I was passionate about bikes, but being around the corner from the strip club, we had people come in, right? And I'll never forget, I've never told this story before, Josh, not on a podcast, that's for sure. But one of my first selling experiences after that Schwinn selling school is a woman came in, bikini top, short shorts with tassels, no shoes. And she came in and Marty's like, got a customer. And I look out, I'm 14 at the time. My voice is cracking, right? He's like, you got a customer. I'm like, what? Marty? Me? And he's like, hey, handle it. So I went out and she's like, I want a big bike, the kind of bike I have to swing my leg over. And I'm like, I about passed out, but I sold her a bike. She walked out pleased as punch. And I think I lost all the color in my face, but that was one of my early selling experiences of learning how to stay focused during a selling scenario.
Stay focused. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, and great backdrop as well. So I want to transition into the faith element of it. Like,